Hello, dear beloveds. I am so delighted to be joining you again today. We're doing lots of lives at the moment, free training coming up on Monday night. It's a very exciting time. It is the initiate month in the Institute. August is devoted to the initiate. And what is the initiate month all about? So initiate is both a verb and a noun, and of course we know that it's to begin something or to be initiated into something, as well as to be the initiate, to be that who is giving their life or opening themselves to a new phase or a new level of understanding. And we are celebrating those in my community who are saying, yes, I am ready to initiate something new in my life, or to be the initiate, to be that person or that person who's willing to sit themselves at the feet of something new and say, I want to be initiated into this knowledge, this wisdom, this experience. And so today I'm going to take us deep down the rabbit hole. I'm talking about consciousness, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about. And it really relates very strongly to understanding intuition. So, of course, I put out the post this morning that I was going to do this, and then I thought, is this actually the right topic? And I got glorious confirmation. One of my beloved third level priestesses shared a quote from Muji, and the quote goes like this: not one thing in the universe has a single inherent meaning. The meaning of a thing is in the mind of the perceiver and not in the object of perception. Mind blown. Let's unpack that, shall we? Let's dive deep down the rabbit hole of what I want to share with you today, which is, I wrote a little note to myself. It's a big topic, but it's so worth us getting our heads around. And I feel like if we can get our heads around this, not only do we exponentially increase our own intuition, we understand the true functioning of the cosmos. And you know that's what I am all about. So consciousness is whatever you need it to be. So let's take a step back. What is consciousness? Well, consciousness is that which pre-exists before matter. Consciousness is that pure energy state. Consciousness is the great big anomaly that physics and quantum physicists can't entirely wrap their heads around how it functions. But what we understand from a spiritual perspective is that consciousness is that which creates or brings reality into being. And it exists before matter, so it's formless. Without consciousness, there is not life. And this has been stated by quantum physicists, that there is no cosmos or universe that exists that does not have consciousness within it, because consciousness is the creative act that brings formlessness into form. So we simply do not exist in a consciousnessless state, and there is no reality that does not is not built on consciousness. So you can think of that as our pure energy state. That is us in our state of pure potential, and we are beings of pure consciousness who are constantly bringing reality into form through the creative act of our consciousness. So where we hold our consciousness, we entrain formlessness into form. So I'm hoping that's really clear, and I don't need to break that down anymore, because I really want to kind of go way deeper down the rabbit hole with this. How does this relate to intuition? And what's the relationship between intuition, which you've heard me say before is the fourth dimension, the bridge between energy and matter? So intuition is consciousness in communication with itself. So if we think about that as when we come into the Earth School, the training ground that is Earth School, we go into the river of forgetting, to use Caroline Myss's term, and we go into an amnesiac state that makes us believe we are separate from that which we are, which is pure consciousness, the one mind of God. And it's our job in this lifetime in Earth School to overcome that feeling of separation. It's the recognition of heaven on earth. So we're really talking about the law of correspondence right now. As above, so below, as within, so without. We never actually left that one mind. We are not actually separate from God or from heaven, if you think heaven not as a physical place, but as a state of being. But the river of forgetting that we pass through to come into Earth School makes us believe or become amnesiac to the truth of what we are. And our whole purpose of our life is to get back to that state of truth, of the unity consciousness, that one mind, to return our consciousness back to God. So when we think about consciousness in that way, when we relate it to intuition, we are in the illusion of separation, but God doesn't leave us. That consciousness doesn't go anywhere. And intuition is God constantly, or that one mind, if you don't like to use the word God, that infinite consciousness from which we came from, is constantly communicating with us. And our capacity to open to and hear our intuition, or to hear that communication, is our intuition in action. And that communication is going on all the time, constantly. It never stops. What blocks us from hearing it, as you know, is our fear. And our fear is the only impediment. It's part of the illusion that is part of Earth School. It is not a real thing. There's nothing to fear. But it gives us another opportunity, another learning opportunity to overcome that belief in separation. So if we think about intuition as the way consciousness communicates with itself, that might give you an understanding of why understanding the true nature of consciousness helps us elevate our intuitive capacities so much more powerfully. You'll begin to understand, if you hang around with me, that when I talk about how to increase our intuition, we're never going to talk about the trinkets and superstitions of the New Age. We're never even going to talk about what exists inside of Earth School. You could argue that when I say trinkets and superstitions, I'm actually talking about all that exists in form, because there's nothing in form that is going to help us increase our intuition, right? We're getting this, yeah? Because it is consciousness communicating with itself, and consciousness is a state of being that pre-exists matter. So there's literally nothing in the dream of this life that could increase our consciousness. Everything we need to increase our consciousness, and therefore our intuition, exists outside of the dream. So a little bit like you cannot solve the problem at the level that the problem was created, we cannot increase our intuition whilst we're in a dream of separation. It's simply not possible. We have to be willing to move up and out of the dream, raising our consciousness. And we do that by being willing to meet our fear. But I want to talk a little bit more about the true nature of consciousness in regards to a specific aspect of how intuition is often taught to people, and that is through the idea of angels, guides, and beings who are not incarnate. And I want to talk about that because it really matters to me that we have the clearest access to our pure conscious, pure highest intuitive state, the less we believe. So the less man-made dogma we pick up and put between us and that one mind, the more likely we are to have the most powerful intuitive knowing of anything or anyone on the planet. So there's a lot that's said about angels and guides. There's a lot said about this that is actually dogma, that is actually man-made, religious-like ideology that is not actually true. Now, how do I know this? I know this because of an incredible astrophysicist named Jacques Vallee. Jacques Vallee was, as a young man in France, studying as an astrophysicist. And whenever there was evidence of, through their giant telescopes, of alien life, that evidence was destroyed by his superiors. And he said one day, why are we doing this? Why aren't we sharing with people that there are, there's alien or unidentified flying objects out there in the cosmos? And basically his superior said, well, that's not our work, that's not what we do, and this is not our mandate. So we destroy that evidence. And of course, for this young scientist, he, with his curious mind, this was not good enough. And so he left the establishment, if you like, and he took up his own research project, which he continues to this day. The work of his life is to investigate contact events. So places in the world where people are reporting having had connection to unidentified flying objects, or what we would maybe call alien life, which Jacques Vallee does not call alien life, by the way. It's really important that you understand this. He has never made an assumption about what he's investigating. He goes in purely as the scientist, he collects the data, and he inputs that data using an algorithm into a program which includes all reported contact events from the beginning of recorded history. So the ancient cultures reporting, energies coming from the sky, and the ancient drawings in caves of things that look like UFOs, and he inputs all of that data that he has access to. He is particularly interested in contact events that the media haven't got their hands on, so those sites are not contaminated. And what he discovered after inputting data from thousands of events from all over the world and all the history, all the stages of human history, is this: that what we need to evolve or awaken, what we need to believe in, is what will appear to us. Okay? So at various points in time, contact events have happened in different ways. But what we need at any time to awaken, whether that's aliens, angels, personal guides, whatever way of communicating with non-physical life we need to evolve our consciousness, is what we will draw forth from that pure state of potential of the quantum field. I sort of want to pause here and just go, oh my God, this is not just some random person's idea. This is a scientist with decades of data inputted into a program that has allowed him to recognize this truth, that there is no absolute truth. There is only pure consciousness. And out of that pure consciousness, we create whatever it is that we need, both individually and collectively, remembering this is being done at the subconscious level, to awaken our consciousness to the truth of what we are. The reality is that most people who experience a contact event or an experience of meeting an angel have their hearts cracked open, yes? So these people are altered by their experiences. They are awakened or rehumanized. Their hearts are opened in a bigger way than they were before. This is what raising consciousness does. And so is there ever an absolute that we can say there are definitely alien life forms trying to communicate with us? Is it ever an absolute that there are angels who want to talk to us? Is it ever an absolute that there are a brotherhood of light and that there are guides and that there is this and there is that and there are dead people and this and this and this? Absolutely. If that's what your consciousness needs to awaken to its truth, which is that it is pure consciousness and that it is one with the God mind. Jacques Vallee describes the dimensions of time and space as constructs of our consciousness so that we may traverse consciousness, so that we may learn about ourselves. In other words, nothing that we hold to be real in the dream of Earth School actually exists. It is simply a figment of our imagination, designed with the very intentional purpose of awakening our consciousness. So when you come to increase your intuition with me, when you come to train your intuitive intelligence with me, will I say to you, yes, there's absolutely guides and there's angels and there's this and there's that, and until you connect to your angel, you can't be truly intuitive? Not bloody likely. What I'm going to say to you is that you are that. You are that one mind. You are pure, unlimited consciousness. And if having the experience of an angelic being in your life will activate, rehumanize that heart, then by all means, you're going to experience that. If you believe that accessing consciousness from the 29th dimension is going to activate your heart, then by all means, go along that path. But do not ever think that there is an absolute truth inside of a dream. Do you see that that would be a paradox, an impossible paradox? The only absolute truth is the one mind, and that one mind is formless. Within it, all potentials exist, and we draw forth both collectively and individually. So don't think that you're singularly responsible for aliens appearing in the sky. It's a collective shared consciousness as well as the individual need. It's alchemy. It's what you need to draw forth from that collective consciousness, from that one mind, that will activate your truth of overcoming the belief in separation. This is big stuff. Like I said to you, when I recognized this morning that this is what I was supposed to be talking about, I thought, really? Can't we just talk about Intuition 101? And this was the direct instruction. And then I saw the Mooji quote and I knew it was absolute. So the Mooji quote was basically saying that objects do not have an inherent value or worth or even an identity. It's what we place upon them that draws forth meaning from them. And that's exactly how it goes when we zoom out to this quantum level where we're talking about the entire cosmos. Whatever you need to awaken, the medicine will come from you. And I guess that's what I want to help us all understand, because by golly, I need to hear this as often as I can, that we are infinite and we are creating the conditions that will sustain our awakening. But please do not get involved in conversations about, is it true? Does this really exist? Because I guarantee you that it's as true as it needs to be for the person who's experiencing it. But is that your truth? Byron Katie says, you know, I am the medicine that I need. I used to need to believe in angels. I used to need to have a guide. And now I see that all is God and all is holy. And everything I encounter is a cause for my awakening. There is no order of difficulty in miracles, so says A Course in Miracles. And for me, that is absolutely the truth that I abide by and try to live by, that the conditions that are right in front of me are put there as the most holy way for me to awaken in that moment. There's no waiting for some kind of mystical experience, because it's all a mystical experience, because it is all serving me to come back to the truth of what I am. This is big stuff, and it's usually stuff that I don't go into until I've had my students in my care for some time, because we really have to dismantle a lot of belief to get to this point. But I have to remind us all that dismantling belief is the key to our freedom. It is where we will overcome the belief in separation. It is where we will reclaim our sovereignty and to recognize ourselves as what we are, God or Goddess, whatever term works better for you. I think that's where I'll leave it today. I feel altered whenever I get to speak about this content, and I feel excited, and beyond excited, I feel altered, that's really the word, by the possibility of tapping into what we truly are, the I am that I am. And anything we put between us and that I am that I am is going to reduce us, not increase our intuition. When we can move into that absolute state of freedom, where we are recognizing ourself and holiness in everything, that's when our intuition is so switched on that we've actually moved beyond the need for intuition. Remembering that intuition is the communicator, it's the language of consciousness, it's that bridge between that pure state and our earthly realm. Ultimately, we won't need that bridge, because we will be returned to oneness. So intuition has a time limit on it, I guess. And it is exactly, Yashana's just said, expanded. We had a gorgeous conversation about that. We are beyond language. And as Shana talked about this morning with me, there are no words that we can put around this experience. It is an experience of experience. It's a state of being that we can't actually communicate with language, but it is available to us all. And that's why I teach intuition the way I do, because I don't want to put more prisons around your precious consciousness and limit you with dogma and tell you that unless you have an angelic experience, or you've met your guide, or that you've done this or you've done that, that you are not as godly as I am, and you haven't gone along the path of mysticism. It's simply not true. Your consciousness is constantly serving you, and it will awaken you in communication. Because this is the other thing, this is the last thing I'll say about this, as well as Jacques Vallee talking about the fact that you will pull forth from the quantum field whatever it is that you need to awaken from that field of pure consciousness. Whatever is there to awaken you, be it alien or angel, those things have their own independent functioning. So they're not literally just puppets serving you. They are having their own experience of awakening. So it's literally thinking about how the cosmos is ordered to the microsecond that we would intersect at exactly the right moment, so that we are all being awoken further and further to the truth of what we are. So those things don't just exist in nothingness until you call them forth, but they have their own independent functioning. This just continues to blow my mind, and everything that Jacques Vallee says and does is just like music to my soul. But you can't really grapple with it with the cranial brain, because our brains are literally in prisons of belief right now. And that's why my work is to train women in the intuitive sciences beyond belief. And I work as much as I can to take out dogma wherever I identify it in my work, and to see what's possible on the other side of that. So this feels like a really special live. Thank you for sharing it with me. It really does give me so much joy to share this with you, because I think this is where we will truly all go. And I think once we're willing to just even play with these ideas right now, you don't have to say, yeah, I completely get that, because I don't completely get it, but I'm willing to try. And I'm excited to see who wants to come along on that journey with me. Mwah. Have a beautiful morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye.